Hey, this is Alan Troutman, and you are listening to WithoutYourHead.com. I don't know how you can listen without your head, but there you are.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
And I'm Heather Mama Creepy Markham.
Excellent. Welcome to the show, Heather. It's your first official co-host here. And joining us is special effects makeup artist Ryan Schaddelee. How you doing?
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Well pronunciated. Yeah, good pronunciation there. Excellent. Thank you.
Oh yeah, we knew before we ever called you exactly how to say the last name.
And he's also a filmmaker, not just a special effects guru, but a filmmaker.
On two things. I know, it's hard to grasp.
Two things in one.
I know, it's weird. Well, sometimes it can only be one, sometimes it can be more, but yes, I prefer two.
Which came first? Did you want to make movies or did you want to do special effects? Or is it a combination?
It was definitely effects, for sure. I was, 10, not earlier, that I started to want to really get into it. And, I was getting pretty good by the time I was like 18. I had my senior class pictures with my special effects stuff. And, I felt like this is absolutely what I was going to do, and getting pretty good at makeup and, some stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the CG revolution started to really go. Like Jurassic Park was just coming out. I'm like, oh my God, and then everybody was talking like, well, there goes practical effects. And so I was like, what have I done with my life? I've wasted my life and I'm only 18, so I went to college and was kind of pursuing an art degree with a philosophy minor, which was totally employable, after graduation. And then I switched to a filmmaking school. And so I got a degree in directing. Mm-hmm. So I did that for, I'm still doing that, but every movie I do still has effects or some sort of fantastic or sci-fi or horror element to it. So I was doing my own effects for my own movies. Yeah. I never really left it, but then it started to get a little more, the ball really started to, really take off. I mean, it was just, holy crap, in the past 5 or 6 years, the practical effects thing has really kind of exploded again. So I'm spending a lot more time doing that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when did you notice that started to make a comeback, the practical effects?
I guess for me, anyway, I mean, it never really stopped, but I feel like CG finally kind of just proved itself to be a very interesting tool, but never really, it can't replace it, I mean, how many times have we heard that actors say that they have such a hard time acting against nothing, and that there's some sort of, I don't know, magic to having something on set. I think it's finally been understood that working together, you can achieve something better than one or the other could ever do separate.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it helps the actor really get into character if they have that appliance, the prosthetic on them, or the makeup on them,
Right.
Really helps them get into it.
Touching something, seeing something on set. Absolutely, I agree. Getting blood splashed on them, it's that's great.
The taste of corn syrup.
Mm-hmm. The sweet, sweet taste. The cleanup.
I always think there's something even good CG. Usually you could tell the weight's not there, there's something missing.
Yeah, I there's this weird, what is it called? The uncanny valley or something, where it's really close, but there's something just not quite right. And that's part of it, I think. And also, I really think that there's something about the magic element, knowing that somebody made this, but you're not really sure how, in camera, practically, is still more tickling to an audience's mind than knowing right off the bat, CG, that's how they did it. Mm-hmm. There's something, I don't know, people want to be fooled. They want to get their brain going, I think, a little bit, or even when you're watching an effect, you're still how'd they do that? As opposed to, CG. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel anyway. So, I mean, nothing against the talent of the CG artist. That takes something absolutely incredible, what they do, and I don't understand it. So that is kind of a magic, but it's just something I don't know.
Yeah. I think even like a bad practical effect, some of the stuff I grew up with, there's still something fun about that, even if you could tell it's not well done. But if it's bad CG, it's just bad, and like it's not fun, or
right.
There's no charm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's something charming. At least they tried. That was cute. You know what I mean? There's some sort of like that element.
Fun.
You know,
it's like, maybe I could do that at home. That might be fun to do.
Right. Right.
Bad CG.
Absolutely. That's exactly probably the theory that. Right. True. I was wondering about this too, though, because like people my age who grew up on all practical effects in their youth and are highly influenced by it are now again in positions of power to make movies, and so there is kind of that resurgence. I wonder about more like 90s kids who grew up with bad CG. If like maybe in another 10 years it's going to be some resurgence of bad CG on purpose, to just to get the nostalgia factor going.
Yeah, it'll be all throwback. Yeah, when 20 years we'll see all throwbacks to Sharknado and
yeah,
like
right.
Oh God.
Or like Spawn. Remember Spawn? Oh my God.
Oh God. Oh, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. Yikes. But
it might make the movie really good.
Everything has its time.
So, what were like some of the monsters or movies that made you want to start to make stuff?
Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people say this, but one of the biggest, if not the biggest, was John Carpenter's The Thing. That still, I mean, is hailed as like the Holy Grail or the Citizen Kane of practical effects, I think. Mm-hmm. And my studio here in Minneapolis, I named it Outpost 31 in reference to the Antarctic Research Station from the movie Outpost 31 because it's such an influence to me to get this, to do it. I mean, seeing the stuff, I was blown away as a kid seeing that. Like, how the hell did they do that? So maybe it was so scary that it was like I had to figure it out to take away its power, or something. I don't know. But regardless, that really, really sparked something in me. That one was a big one. Of course, Evil Dead 2 was another really, really big one. American Werewolf in London, I guess.
That's a.
Those are pretty all the big ones.
Yeah. That's
classic.
Still the best. That's still the best transformation. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a combination of both the special effects and the movie itself, because you can't really have a movie with just effects. You might enjoy it on some level, but it enhances.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, some movies don't hold up. I remember liking movies as a kid. Liking movies as a kid and then seeing them again as an adult, be like, the effects are pretty good, but not a great movie. I should mention, by the way, The Dark Crystal was probably also the second, if not tied with The Thing. That was unbelievable. I was a huge Muppet Show fan.
Yeah.
And seeing The Dark Crystal was like, what the hell am I seeing? I totally blew my mind. And actually I can take this back to maybe when I was 8 or 10. There was a traveling art show with the art of The Dark Crystal that came to my small town, like a little children's museum or something, or maybe it was just a regular museum in my small town in Michigan. And I went, and they had a Skeksis hand with like the articulation, and it was under glass, but the little control mechanism was free for you to pull to make it articulate it so you could make the fingers move. Mm-hmm. And I remember being so fascinated by that. And I was like, oh my God. And I just sat there and played with it and made different finger gestures and stuff. And that was absolutely like a defining moment in like, oh my gosh, I want to do puppets and, play with stuff like that. So Dark Crystal was a big one.
How do you go about learning that? I'm sorry if you were about to say that.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, how do you go about learning stuff like that? Is it mostly self-taught or?
Well, I was lucky enough to have internet access in 1984. I was kidding. Back in the day, it was all books and magazines. I mean, it was really hard to figure stuff out. I mean, my eighth grade term paper was called "The Art and Ingenuity of Movie Special Effects," and I would went to the interlibrary loan and got every book I could get, on it, and researched everything. And Fangoria magazine, remember that? Gore Zone and Starlog and Cinefantastique, all those magazines, getting little morsels and study the pictures and try to figure out what they're doing and all that. So it was a lot of that kind of thing. It was very slow learning. But then, just practice and practice and practice. And materials are so precious back then too. Luckily, I had my birthday in July, so it was about 6 months from Christmas, so I could like restock every 6 months, from my parents. But it was still so precious, and if you screwed something up, like you're like, like I either gotta save money or wait till another whatever holiday or my birthday to get some more stuff to play with. Yeah. So it was just a lot of practicing.
Were your parents really supportive of you getting into this when you were younger?
No.
I know usually when they open up the refrigerator and there's a bunch of, mason jars filled with blood and things like that, a lot of people tend to be like, what's going on here? But
yeah. I guess I shouldn't say that. I mean, they tolerated it. I mean, they didn't try to stop me, I should say. I mean, they probably just didn't do anything because they didn't know what to do. Like I'm blowing up, blood-filled condoms in the backyard and stuff, and they're like, okay, but I was using their oven, to bake foam latex, so I think they recognized the ingenuity behind it, if not what the end results were. They're very, very Christian and very, so they didn't like any of the horror and the gore and all that element. So, but they appreciated the art, I suppose, and the, problem solving behind it.
Mm-hmm. I remember my brother gave me a Tom Savini book in the 80s. And, and it showed like, I think it was like cornflakes or something for the grandfather in Creepshow. And I remember reading it was like a real skeleton.
Rice Krispies.
I never, Rice Krispies. Yeah, I never made anything, but I read the book a bunch of times.
Yeah, Grand Illusions, that was a big one too, and that was awesome because
1 and 2.
And at the back of the book, he had a list of suppliers, which was awesome. Carolina Biological Supply to get like some skulls and taxidermy type places, things, and like where to get dental acrylic, where to get, R&D foam latex and all that stuff. And that was kind of gold. And that was awesome for Tom to do that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was a big help.
Do you think the fact that the stuff was hard to get, it was, cost a lot. And if you messed up, you're out, that helped learn because like, you were forced to, try to do it right the first time?
Kind of. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that too, because in film school, I think about this a lot too. In film school, we had to shoot on film, and you had, film is absolutely precious, like when that thing's running through your camera, that's it. You're going to get what you get. And I thought about that, like you take a lot of time to light, rehearse, practice before you actually shoot anything. Nowadays with digital, it's like, information is so, it just, whatever, it's just on a card, so it's like, shoot more, shoot it again, like it's so, maybe you don't plan it as much. So anyway, interesting. Sorry, that's kind of sidetracked, but like, absolutely, I'm like, I can't mess up. And you have to, to a certain extent, that's how you learn. You have to screw it up so you don't either do it again or you see what happens. Yeah. So that's inevitable. It's just unfortunate that this is one of the most expensive hobbies I think a kid could ever get into. Yeah.
But it's the funnest. It's probably one of the funnest.
It is,
What kind of stuff did you do for Halloween?
Oh yeah, we do like I would do all my friends. Let's see. Do you remember that movie I, Madman?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember who played that, but I believe the girl from Near Dark was in it. Jenny, what's her name? Anyway, it was a strange movie, but anyway, one year I was I, Madman, for example. I did like, ball cap and like stringy hair and prosthetics and stuff. One time, have you seen the movie Freaked? Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
With Alex Winter. Yeah, that's a weird one.
That is a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
I
great.
love that movie.
Talk about practical effects. Oh my God.
I know.
But I was the Beast Boy, whatever, half
nice.
Whatever, green, 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So they were pretty elaborate, 1 year again. I was just did a burn victim. This was hilarious. I went to high school as a burn victim, and I had half my head, like covered in gelatin. And what I didn't plan or think about was that gelatin, will heat up to your body temperature, and it gets gooey and kind of soft because it's meltable. And so I'm sitting there taking tests, and like pieces of my head are dripping on like papers, and it was just kind of a bad idea to go to school with that makeup. Just kind of this raw, bloody mess on my head, and just like getting it all over the place and
melting everywhere.
But yeah, that was pretty funny. But then I had all my friends and stuff, and it was fun.
Did you ever think about going to, I know there's not a lot of special effects makeup schools in the United States, well, in North America, actually. There's only a few. Did you ever think about going to one of them? I've known one of your employees that had gone to, what's the name of it, up in Canada, is that in Vancouver?
Oh, yeah.
Hannah had gone to, Hannah had gone to that one. But then Tom Savini has one, and then there's Cinema
Makeup School,
out in California. But that's about it as far as special effects schools go in the United States. And I've seen that other makeup artists and stuff have started making these online programs. How do you feel about that? It's something, for me, I would think that I want to be there to get the hands-on experience, I think it would be harder to have the practical.
Yeah. I did consider it a little bit back in the 90s. The Art Institute of Pittsburgh had a special effects program, and I was tempted, to do that. But again, that was right about the time when all the CG was taken over, and I was so like torn. Like, am I wasting money to, go there and do learn a dead art form? So I didn't. But yeah, now that there are a lot of schools, it's such a different game now. If you want to learn anything, you just go on the internet and find out, or there's a YouTube tutorial for it. Or again, Stan Winston School of Character Arts has amazing, classes, online classes, or educational videos, and they're fantastic. And I would have, crapped my pants to see one of those. I had this back in the, back in the day, I feel like an old man. Michael Burnett. Remember the TV show Monsters? Did you ever remember that one?
Yep.
That was fun. Yeah, totally. It was a good show. Michael Burnett did the effects for that, and he had a 3-part VHS series, The Art of Special Makeup Effects, I think it was called, and you could order them in the back of Fangoria. And one was just basic out-of-kit makeup, one was foam latex appliances, and the third was animatronic or cable-controlled masks. And I got the cable-controlled masks one, and I just watched that thing over and over and over. I'm like, Mom, Dad, where do I get bicycle cable liner? Just stupid stuff. Mom, what's tincture of green soap? What? So just trying to find all this stuff was insane and try to figure it out, but again, now just, YouTube videos, and which is awesome because I'm still quite often like, how the hell am I going to do that? So it's fun to research now, but.
Yeah, I think a lot of interest got renewed too. After, there was The Walking Dead that came out, then Sci-Fi Channel came out with Face Off, and all of a sudden people were like, wow. And I'm like, well, they're kind of spoiled. They get every toy. They get all the toys to do this stuff. If I had those toys,
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like, playing pool at a, dive bar versus, billiards at a tournament. You know what I mean? You got the best stick at a perfect level table, and it's, obviously the odds are for you there, if all your you got everything that's good, there. But yeah, those guys in Face Off, they don't have to run their own foam latex. They have people that do that, for them overnight. And I think that it's a very unrealistic expectations. People see all these things that they're making, and it's not how it is in real life, for movies.
No.
You can't bust out a full costume in 3 days, or 2 days,
No.
like without a team of people working. And again, if you look at the quality of those things up close, I'm sure that I don't think they're film worthy for the most part. Again, it's a TV show, not,
Yeah.
I was
It's
actually one of
reality
the, right. The first season, though, actually, they flew me to California. I applied, and I got to go through the application process, but I was not selected. They said I was not the personality they were looking for this season. But to try again next time. I'm like, oh, okay. But so.
You know what? I'd take that as an honor.
Yeah, I suppose. Again, that proof that it's a TV show, So.
By the way, our other co-host here is now with us, Terrible Troy.
I am here.
Hello, Troy.
How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Well,
that's the man who gave me the Tom Savini special effects.
Oh.
Oh yes. Well, back in my day, I guess it was the back of Famous Monsters magazine, and you would get the Tom Savini part.
Yep. I was half the Famous Monsters thing. It was Fangoria for me, but yeah.
Yeah, well, later on it became Fangoria, but as a kid, I always remember, the Famous Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about special effects. You've got a short that you've been showing at festivals. And it looks great.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. Yeah, you saw it. That's right. That's been bumping around in my head for almost 10 years now. Because, again, I can't believe how popular zombies are. As a zombie kid,
just wait till this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Zombie pub crawl is this weekend. In Minneapolis.
Maybe you should tell people what zombie pub crawl is so they can feel the pain.
Is that not a national thing? I don't know. Yeah, it's like where people.
No, not everybody knows.
It's a big. Yeah, it's this giant. I guess it's pretty big now. But in Minneapolis,
15,000?
it's just a night. I think so. I think they set a record.
Yeah.
And from Minneapolis. But yeah, people. It's everybody just dresses up as zombies and gets wasted. And they have bars are special deals, and they have a stage, and then national acts some play. I think it's like Nelly or something, maybe. I'm not sure who's.
I don't know. They had Smash Mouth one year.
Oh yeah, but I'm not sure who's playing this year. But anyway, yeah, the whole downtown pretty much shuts down, and everybody just walks around drunk, screaming brains, and stuff, and it's just so it's kind of disheartening. But anyway. I'm sure it's fun for some people, but that's not it's too many people,
It's pretty insane when you get an extra 15,000 people dressed up like zombies roaming around downtown. It gets interesting, and especially if you're a makeup artist, you're in for some work.
Yeah. I got one couple I'm going to do, but I've done that in the past where I've done makeups for that, and it's fun. But yeah, just don't ask me to do a sexy zombie. There is no such thing. That bugs me more than anything. I just want to be a sexy zombie. It's like
they're the sexy
zombies.
Oh God,
zombies are sexy. You don't have to be like whatever. Anyway, but anyway. So back to zombies. As a zombie fan for years and years and years, way before Walking Dead really nailed it. I have two ideas for interesting zombie takes on, fresh ideas for zombies. Anyway, this one has been in my head for finally, based on the success of a prior short that I did some effects for. And finally assembling the right team of filmmakers and friends who we've worked together long enough, let's do this one, and so we did. And it was nice to finally get that out of my head. However, it's a feature, really. I mean, this is just a short version of the feature. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and you mentioned having an original take on a zombie film or a zombie story, and that's really hard to do. So when you find something, I myself grew up loving zombie movies. I still like them, But every sometimes you see something zombie, you're kind of like, another zombie thing. But then when you do see something that is an original take on it, then it's like, hey, this is really cool. It's something new, something different. And that's what I thought about your short.
You saw it too. Oh, good. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah, we all watched.
Yeah, it. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I agree. It's something again. You can only do what you want to see, I think, as a filmmaker or an artist. Like, what do I want to see, or what would be interesting to me? I think, as soon as you start doing it for other reasons, it can kind of cloud a vision or something. I don't know. But that is a movie that I would absolutely be like, thank you. Like, that's what I want. Walking Dead is fun, super fun. And there's some new stuff coming out. I haven't seen that Z Nation yet. I don't know much about that, but yeah, I think I would like to see this as a feature, for sure. It's really a Western, when you think of it. I guess I should say the premise here is that, what we're talking about is, in this film EXCARNATE, the souls of the deceased are trapped as ghosts, kind of in limbo, until the body can be brought to the place where the soul and the body were separated, and then they can be reunited and then exterminated. So it's kind of like zombie exorcism or Ghostbusters, I guess. Or so. But these mercenaries then are hired by grieving families to go out into the zombie wasteland and find one specific zombie and take them back to the place where they can kill it. So it's very like a Western,
Yeah.
So you don't like killing other zombies because, that might be future work. Like, oops, I blew away, a potential client. So.
Yeah, and it's good because it asks the question about what happens to the soul, or the humanity of someone who becomes a zombie, which isn't always represented in zombie movies.
Yeah, it's a real fresh take, I think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I again, we're working on the feature, so hopefully, after we'll see what happens with our festival circuit here, but we're hoping that we can expand it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Where can you find what festivals it's playing at?
We are listing them as we go on the EXCARNATE Facebook page. I think the next one playing is going to be Knoxville Horror Film Fest. Then I think it's in Orlando for the Sick and Wrong, which is like awesome name for a film festival.
That's great.
Sick and Wrong Film Festival. Cool. And then there's a few others, but I think those are the next two. So yeah, we should update. You're right, on the EXCARNATE Facebook page, but that's all we got for promotion, online support for the film right now.
Yeah.
It was definitely refreshing to see something new, and it definitely it made me want to see more. I wanted to see more of it. Like, I was like,
that is awesome.
Well, I want more, and,
Good.
And I've been disappointed. I mean, I'm a big zombie lover too, but the genre has just kind of been on repeat, for a while, where it's like, okay, it's the same. I see a zombie movie come up and I'm like, okay, it's going to be the same thing like the last one and the one before. But, I watched this and I'm like, this is great. This is a great concept. It's completely original. And I love the way it's done. I love the way it looks. And you gave me hope again. Thank you for giving me hope.
Well, if I could borrow you guys while we go for a pitch, with a studio here or a financier, that'd be great. Some producers, maybe. No, thank you, though. Yeah, it's like, again, that's always the hard part, making the movies.
And just basically, the zombie look cool, too.
Oh, yeah, and that was a perfect example, too, of digital and practical mixing. We Ian Peters, great CG artist, removed the nose on the zombie actor because I knew that I wanted, like, right, the first shot, I wanted to make sure, like, this is not just an old sick man. This is a zombie. You know what I mean? It had to be that. So, like, you know, we're talking to the producer and trying to figure out the cost of the short film and stuff. And I'm like, well, does he have to have his nose gone? And I'm like, that's a weird decision to make, you know, when you know it's going to cost that, you know, cost a lot of money, you know, to hire somebody to do it. Like, is it really important? Like, yeah, I guess it is, you know? So, we did, and he did a fantastic job. Peter West also did some CG work, and he also was the executive producer.
It was worth it
on the film.
Yeah.
So
it was worth it.
I couldn't be happier with the look of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do more of that kind of stuff as a effects artist. I really want to, you know, integrate CG with practical stuff and see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, though, because a lot of the times, because I know we're guilty of it, like Neil and I anyway, you know, I'm not sure about Heather, but we'll get down on the CG sometimes. And, you know, it's nice to hear like a practical person kind of going to bat for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I feel like if we can all just work together, we can all be happy.
Right.
So, like, I mean, I truly think that, you know, the practical stuff has limitations, and so does CG. You know, together you can do more than separate, like, you know, and yeah, it's kind of a win-win. So I'm not,
having
again,
a
by no
symbiotic
means
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even in like the Susurrus film, which is the one we did before this, my friend Anthony directed When Susurrus Stirs. That was heavy effects short film. And even then, there's some CG cleanup on like the makeup. You know, like there was one day, like, you know, we shot the close-ups. We tried not to do this, but we shot the close-ups of the makeup at the end of the day when the makeup was not at its perfect, you know, time. You know, so having had to survive all day, and this poor guy, he's this fat makeup, you know, so it's like coming off him and practically. So anyway, the CG, you know, we had a CG cleanup guy, you know, kind of just touch up the edges, and it's like, I can't forget that, you know, people are like, oh, the makeup was so great. I'm like, yeah, well, there's a little help in a couple scenes, you know, so thank you, CG, you know, again. So.
Yeah, I definitely am. I love that people like you, and I have seen it in other films too, where they are starting to have that kind of symbiotic relationship, because I do tend to come down a bit hard on CGs in some movies. Sometimes I understand it has to be like that, and it comes off really well. But, and I know I'm going to get some hating on for this, but like I had to stop watching The Walking Dead. I couldn't take it anymore, because I mean, I loved it, but I'd be like, okay, we got a couple rows of practical and the rest is all CGI. And I was just like, oh, I can't do it. And then if anybody was watching it with me, I'd just end up ruining any of it with them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm ruining this. I'll just go home now. So, yeah. But I'm glad.
I know what you mean, though. I mean, if it's obvious, you can see it. It's kind of like, that does take me out of it personally too. I think
it's kind of the same as like somebody in the military who goes and watches a war movie or something, and they're like, "That's not how you handle a gun," or you know, things like that. It's just one of those things. But it's really nice that people in the creative community can come together instead of pulling away from each other. I think that's something that's really important, because it's when you're finally stopping and letting those egos aside and being like, oh no, this is the way it goes. This is better. You know, you got to drop that ego.
Right. So, agreed. And again, you know, there's a certain skill set. I mean, it's, you know, you can do a movie completely practical or completely CG. You know, I think of it as like different medium. You know, do you want to paint with oil colors or watercolors? You know, it's like a different feel or look or effect. You know, so. But again, whatever's best for the job and tells the story. Because ultimately, movies are about story. You know, and if the story kind of sucks, no practical or CG is going to save it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Since we're on, go on.
Oh, did you see the Thing remake, or not remake, prequel? I guess.
Yeah.
That movie was very dull.
I have not gotten to see it yet. I have not gotten to see it yet.
Yeah, because
unfortunately,
they did a lot, all practical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did see the makeup on Bill Skarsgård, and I was pretty impressed. Because I know what Bill Skarsgård looks like in person, and then to see what they did with him, I was just like, wow, because that guy's like 6'4". He's not some small guy. He is 6'4". So I was just like, wow. I thought just from what I have seen.
I think you're thinking of it. He meant the Thing sequel.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
it's more the prequel, though.
The prequel, yeah.
Oh, the prequel.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I actually enjoyed that movie. Like, I think I'm in the minority, but I actually really enjoyed the prequel.
I think as a movie, it's pretty good. I don't mind it, but again, it just took me out. The CG was just so obviously CG. It just was kind of.
Yeah, you're right.
And it just felt like with a movie that I hold anyway in such high esteem, the first Thing with again, the pinnacle of practical effects, that they didn't even. I mean, they did try, and I don't know what the problem was. They did so much practically. Thing like Studio ADI's work on it is unbelievable. But apparently they didn't use any of it, really. It was just all CG. So I don't really, it seemed like such a wasted opportunity. I mean, you could have used it as a marketing tool, an entirely practical film in the 2010 or whenever it came out, so like right now I'm like, losing sleep at night thinking about this Dark Crystal prequel that's coming out as well. Like, oh my God, if there's
I haven't even heard about that yet.
Oh, I didn't know such a thing existed, or was it?
Yeah, it's gonna be a Netflix. Yeah.
Oh my God,
a Netflix thing. A Dark Crystal
I'm gonna
prequel.
lose sleep at night. I actually used to have a copy of the Dark Crystal in German on VHS.
Probably sounds pretty cool.
It was like Dar Duncan Crystal or something like that. It was crazy. A friend of mine had brought it back from Germany on a trip because they knew I liked the Dark Crystal, and I was like, this is so cool. I might actually end up learning German. I watched it so much. So
wow. I bet it sounds really good.
Yeah, it was cool.
My girlfriend had an old copy of The Last Unicorn from Germany, and it was Der Lee Steinhorn, and it was just great.
That movie messed me up as a kid too, man. Yeah, that was I forgot about The Last Unicorn. That was scary.
One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Firebowl really got me, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I was a sensitive kid. I mean, like, I couldn't, like, the Tauntauns getting cut open and Empire Strikes Back freaked me out. I mean, that was, like, really, or with Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, when, like, the thing in his ear comes out with the blood. I was like,
that still messes with me. Yeah.
That is a cool
yeah. No, yeah. I still, you wouldn't believe how much I clean my ears. Yeah, I think about that, and it gives me willies just thinking about that. I'm like, oh, no.
Or what was another one? Time Bandits really messed with me too, man. That was a scary movie.
I love Time Bandits.
Yeah, that's
I do too now. Yeah, as a kid, I was like, I was like, whatever. Little people and Satan.
That's why I've been going back and watching some old movies that were like, well, okay, I grew up not only just on children's movies, but my parents were pretty liberal, and I was watching, a lot of horror movies when I was very young. And the horror movies didn't end up bothering me so much, but then I would look back and see, like, Gremlins, and Gremlins had, like, a PG rating, but then I'd watch it when I was older, and I'm like, there is no way that movie would get a PG rating now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely no way.
Sure.
I think Poltergeist is like that too. Some of the
Poltergeist. Yeah, Poltergeist too. Yeah.
Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Jaws is PG.
So true.
I know Jaws is PG, and I'm just like, can we get those people to start rating movies again?
Yeah. Well, then what was it? Temple of Doom?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That was PG-13, or was that PG?
I think that's the first. I think that's the movie that created the PG-13 rating.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I think so, but I don't.
Ridiculous.
I believe the controversy over it did create the need for another new rating or whatever. But I can't remember if it was in fact rated PG-13 or not.
Not sure either.
Yeah, that's just crazy. It's like, well, you've got Jason slaughtering people, but Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, you got those Nazis in there. Yep. There we go.
Oh, that's another one that messed me up. Oh my God! At the end, melting at the end. Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, the melting.
Yeah, there's a recent video came out showing how how them doing the scene and like how long it took to actually film them melting and finding the right consistency.
Yep, gelatin.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that. That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm still kind of warped a little bit out of, literally all three of the Poltergeist movies. I mean, there were just certain scenes in each of those movies. I mean, especially the first one. I mean, I'm not talking about the newest one, but like the original three. But like that first one, the tree.
Oh,
the doll, the clown, the tree, the clown doll, the falling into the pool, with the actual corpses, Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her. I love her. Anything that woman was in, I can't remember her name right now. She played the medium in it, but
Zelda Rubinstein.
Yes. Any movie that I knew she was going to be in, I'm like, oh, it's going to be good. I got to watch that because it's going to be creepy or something weird is going to happen in it.
It just occurred to me that every movie we just talked about, like that were PG, that almost are or should be are possibly are all either directed by or Spielberg related.
They are. No, that's right. And
that's weird.
I actually just watched on what is it on HBO? Just put out a documentary about Spielberg, and it talked about it's really good. And they showed he was talking about his movies, how he had done practical application and everything through all of his movies. And how, it was hard. There were different things he had to do up until Jurassic Park. And that Jurassic Park was pretty much the first feature big movie that they actually used CGI. And that that they were just like, oh my God, can we really do this? That they had no idea that it was even possible to try and do this because they didn't know how are we going to have dinosaurs running at people,
They originally tried with like stop motion, but it just didn't, work.
Yeah, and they even
Phil
showed
Tippett
how
was going to do it.
Yeah, and they showed how, Jeff Goldblum talking about how weird it was for him trying to act towards nothing. And it's just like, and that's going back to the practical where it's like, when you have the makeup and things on and you're looking at an actual monster, you have something to react to, something physical right there.
But
I have to say,
Jurassic Park still had.
Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jurassic Park.
No, you go.
I did have some stuff, and I think that movie still actually really works well.
I do too.
Attention to detail, like when things move, that there's good sound and things kind of shake a little bit. It adds a lot of realism that might not be there in some other scenes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there is a lot of real dinosaurs in that movie still that people forget. I mean, there's still a 2-ton Tyrannosaurus Rex, and like a lot of the Velociraptors are real. I mean, they built all, I think, versions of all the dinosaurs for real in that one.
Yeah.
What was really sad was Jurassic World. That's the newest one, right?
Yeah.
I think
the only practical thing they built was a blinking eye. One blinking dinosaur eye was the only practical dinosaur effect in that movie. It's like, man, that's sad.
That's kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
You you would think by now it's like this is probably a bad idea to make this amusement park.
Right. How many times does this have to go bad on us?
But this time I swear.
At that point.
It's gonna work this time. I just know it.
They had a really bad design for where the pterodactyls were, because it was like if the glass broke, they basically could just fly out and eat everybody.
As long as a kid doesn't throw a rock at this big glass enclosure, these deadly creatures.
Right.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. The board of directors. Well, we got a problem again, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And then we'll genetically engineer one that's even bigger and meaner than the T-Rex, because
and it can
that makes so much sense. Yeah,
and it's much and smarter than all of them.
Yep.
I think that them having Chris Pratt in it totally made up for it, though. So I was fine with that part. So my future ex-husband was in it, so I was cool with it.
I'm not a fan.
Well, obviously
they're doing another one, aren't they?
Even didn't offer to save it for me.
Hey, if you look at him in a pair of jeans or even whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just all good for me. So
you're a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan, I would imagine.
Hey, I actually have the soundtracks to those movies because the soundtracks are freaking awesome.
Very good.
Those movies are both very good. Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah, very good soundtracks.
And the original Jurassic Park's another one I think is actually a pretty scary movie. There's like a lot of violence.
Yeah.
Was that PG?
I think it was. It was either PG. It might have been
PG-13,
maybe, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
Spielberg again.
Pretty gory and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there wasn't blood.
Yeah.
It was people being eaten.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the lawyer.
yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing that in the theater. Like, wow, this is this is going to change things. And it did. Sure did.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I remember that's one I had to wait. I actually had to wait in a giant line to get into. I remember going to see it at the theater. It hasn't happened too often where I had to wait in the big line.
God, I don't know what I think. Like Return of the Jedi, I think I waited the most in line. I remember being so depressed after that movie, by the way, in the theater. So I'm like, there's not going to be any more Star Wars movies.
Oh,
whoops, I was wrong. Yeah.
Then CGI came out.
Yeah.
Then you were even more depressed when you saw the new.
Yeah. And you're like,
yeah. But now there's now a New Hope.
That's very good. Yes, there's a New Hope
with 8, 9, and 7, 8, 9. Yeah. And Rogue One was fantastic.
Yeah, Rogue
One was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
I like
the last two. The last two that have come out, I've actually really liked.
Yeah,
I have liked them.
Absolutely.
So they made up for Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, nothing makes up for Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, I don't have that action figure.
No.
Oh man, no. I like in the end of Rogue One with Vader. He's totally a serial killer. He's Jason. He's or some sort of just. It's like yes, this is. You hear all these stories about what a badass Darth Vader is. But it's like whoa. You kind of get a hint at it in Episode 3. But now in Rogue One, it's like oh my God, that's the guy. That's Vader. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. That guy's like, help us! Just like, that's a horror movie. That's a horror movie moment. Like right there, just like the Terminator coming,
like 15 guys in 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, 20 seconds that I've watched over and over and over and over. I was on a plane last month, and Rogue One was one of the in-flight entertainment things, and I just watched that part a couple times with my friend. Anyway. Hey, well, should we watch the whole movie? I'm like, no, just let's watch this part.
We'll just watch the death part.
Yeah.
I actually did that the other night. I was watching the kill scenes from the Chucky movies, from the Child's Play movies.
Oh,
the death scenes from the second and third one. I was just like, Look at that. They've got just the death scenes on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube.
I remember when I was a kid, I had 2 VCRs, and so you know how you would tape movies?
Right.
You know, you'd rent a movie and then you'd tape it so you get your own copy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally legal. But anyway, I put some sort of compilation together from movies like The Fly and The Fly Part 2, which is really gory, and like Return of the Living Dead and Reanimator, and I put this like weird little like 5-minute compilation of like gore scenes or horror scenes or creature scenes, you know, that I had on tape to just like kind of study and watch.
That's awesome.
And I remember I showed a girl that from my church that I like was kind of trying to sort of date, and she was a minister's daughter, and she was just like, "Okay, great. You know what? My mom's gonna pick me up soon, and I'll see you later." And yeah, that was pretty weird. But you know, a litmus test, I guess, right? If she wasn't into it, then she
absolutely
not the right one.
You kind of had a 50-50 shot there, though. She was a minister's daughter, so
right.
You never know.
But you can't imagine, though. I mean, she probably hadn't seen any of the movies, had no references to what they were. Just like, what am I seeing right now? You know, just like, you know, Hellraiser, like Jesus wept.
I'm gonna go home and pray for you.
Yeah. Didn't help.
Daddy, he's got demons. He's got so many demons.
Yeah. Then I woke up in bed and there was vomit all over me, and I was like chained up. You know, there was some guys throwing some water on me, and I didn't know what the hell was going on.
There was a camera.
On the deep web.
So if someone was to make a video like that and they would include something you've done, what would you like? What work would you like to be in that?
Oh, good one. Definitely something from When Sorcerer Stirs. That was a short film I did that I did the effects for before. EXCARNATE. That was a really fun one. There's some other short films that I really liked. Some moments. The Sheer Madness. That was a fun one that we did last year. There's a good. There's a feature film from about 5 or 6 years ago called Potpourri, directed by Elliot Devini, and that is about like I guess it's about kids who take drugs to enhance their paper writing skills, or not skills, but they have to write papers for like psychology class or something. So they'll take drugs to expand their mind. And this guy has a hallucinatory experience with a creature that comes out of the ground. And so that was really fun. I got to make like a blinking, eye blinking puppet that comes up out of the dirt and talks and dust. And, that was really fun. It was like, felt like the Dark Crystal to me. A little, its own creature type thing. So yeah. I like that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do it right, like, I don't know. I was actually very happy with a short film called The Domestics by Mike Nelson. That's actually, I think, that's going to be a feature. I'm not sure what it's called, if it's still called The Domestics, but they just shot it in New Orleans. Anyway, for the short that we did, a guy grabs a doorknob that's been booby-trapped by a 12-gauge shotgun shell and blows most of his hand off. And that was a fun one because you get to see, like the fingers still moving with like half of it gone, and blood, I like that effect a lot. But yeah, I'm sure there's some more that we still haven't seen yet. Can't wait for that's something quite often actually what we'll do a movie for, like the one I'm going to be working on next is like this one effect. This guy wants to see, my friend Anthony Cousins, who's directed When Sorcerer Stirs, wants to see a scene where the killer, this is a comedy, it's a slasher comedy, but the killer is using a ripped out throat of a victim to imitate her voice to get more campers to come to him to kill him. So it's like this girl voice, and he's just hulking, like, help, I'm over here. Hulking monster of a killer, like talking into the girl's ripped out throat. So that whole movie was based on that effect in that moment, you know. So sometimes you just have a fun idea and kind of build around that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all fun though.
When you make like a creature, like how much normally is like the director or the writer involved in what it looks like, and how much of it is kind of up to your own device?
It's a good question. Sometimes it all depends on the person. I've had both extremes where, you know, the person's like, well, you're the creative one, you know, like do whatever you want. You know, I'm like, well, thanks. I appreciate that. But, you know, let's go with the direction here, you know, like, you know, anything, you know, and they're like, nope, go for it. You know, I'm like, well, how about we, you know, can we go with like a color, you know, at least, or something to go on, you know, 'cause it's kind of hard to go from scratch. So in that extreme, then to another extreme of, you know, where the person has a very specific idea and has actually done their own sketches and their own concepts. And then you basically just have to realize it in 3D and make it work. And so, you know, both are fun. But yeah, I have not gotten to the point yet where I've met someone who's like, you know, nope, I hate it, fix it, you know, or start over. You know, I haven't had to deal with that kind of stuff.
That's good anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think that people are that.
Now.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, both are fun.
You know,
have
your parents?
And a lot of times, actually, you get this. I'm sorry. A lot of times, I'll get this where it's like, well, I want you to do what you want to do, or like do an effect that you feel is cool that you haven't seen in a movie, and that's fun because then it's like, okay, well then, what if we did this? You know, and they're usually like, okay, cool. Can you do that? I'm like, no, I have no idea, but I think so. You know, we'll give it a shot if you don't care. You know. So
is that fun? Just to find out a way to make something happen.
Absolutely. That's what I really enjoy more than anything is the problem solving aspect of this and the variety of skill sets or techniques. You know, you get to draw, you know, conceive, draw, sculpt, mold, paint, hair work, you know, finishing details, sometimes puppetry. You know, there's so many different things to do, you know, like with an ADD guy like me, I don't get bored that easy with this kind of thing. I couldn't imagine, you know, like working for, you know, I think a lot of the big companies in LA and stuff are very compartmentalized. I don't think there's a lot of bounce around between departments, you know, like you're a mold maker, you know, or you're a sculptor or you're a painter. I don't think there's a lot too much these days of kind of a all-in-one guy, you know. So I don't know if I could pigeonhole myself into like, well, yeah, I'm a sculptor more than anything, I guess. You know. So I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah. Anyway, I guess I completely spaced on that one. What was the question again? Or what were you talking about?
It was just like having fun with finding, you know, problem solving, how to make, you know.
Oh yeah. Yep. So absolutely, that's the key is talk about ADD brain. But anyway, absolutely, problem solving is what I really, really enjoy doing. You know, variety and again figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people enjoy too. You know, like when that's part of the magic of seeing it on camera is like, how'd they do that? You know, when it's not obvious how it was done.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. And when I interviewed Tom Savini, he said similar thing about having the most fun when he started out and, you know, finding out how to do a lot of things that now is like the norm, like, you know, certain things are just how it's done. But, you know, before there was a way to do it, just finding out, you know, how to get it done. He said that was the most fun he had in his career.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's quite an innovator himself. I mean, he was doing, you know, figuring it out. And I love what he does, or his theory is like try to use the real person as much as possible, or at least alter between, you know, a fake weapon and a real person, or then a fake person and a real weapon, you know? So it's hard to tell what's going on because you're kind of switching it up. So
So what do you have next? What are you working on?
I got a couple short films this month. There's a couple features always kind of looming, but again, in Minnesota, in the area, the feature is relatively, there's not a lot of features happening in this area. But, and again, just the filmmaking in general, it's just hard to make a feature film. It's really, really hard. So there's a lot of that hope for a couple of things to pull through for there, because they're really fun projects, like a full body creature suits and stuff like that I would really look forward to doing, some puppetry and some more creatures. And
your Krampus was amazing.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was just a little short Christmas card kind of movie, but yeah, that was a fun one. So stuff like that, a lot of stuff. And then there's, there's a horror convention coming up that I'm going to be at, and trying to make a lot of product for that. Oh, cool. I really enjoy making, art with the techniques of special effects, and materials as just standalone art pieces. And I think that's, when there's no movies, which so far hasn't, luckily, knock on wood, it keeps me busy. But I want to get more into like art pieces, to I guess sell, I don't know. I just make, I don't know. It's hard to describe it. I got to do something. I'll go crazy. I got to make art. I'll definitely lose it.
Yeah. So, I've always enjoyed, seeing you at, like Crypticon in Minneapolis, and you've got your table there, and you've got ears for sale. Yeah. And different appendages, things like that. Yeah, fingers,
faces,
stuff like that.
Zombie head, drunken head.
Yeah.
When you just say different appendages, it really makes it sound very shady.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In Minnesota, it gets dark and cold for a while.
Everybody gets lonely occasionally.
Yeah.
That's why I have my
no shame.
No shame. That's why there's a lot of latex.
Yeah.
That's why I travel.
That's why there's people called prop makers.
There's a whole industry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Hey, there's an industry you can break right into, Ryan. You start getting bored. There you go.
My time.
I know.
Oh, I gotta go. I gotta get on that.
Make a whole new series.
Yeah, as
really
if my parents weren't proud enough. Yeah, exactly.
Guess what I'm doing now,
Merry
Mom and
Christmas.
Dad? You guys are getting real interesting presents for me there.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And so how can people follow you? How can people follow you online?
Well, my Outpost 31 Productions is on .com, www.outpost31productions.com, and then that's the website. And then there's links there to the social media as well. But there's also, of course, Outpost 31 Productions Facebook page, and then just my Ryan Schaddelee Facebook page as well.
All right, very cool. Well,
I guess I'm on Instagram too, Ryan Schaddelee on Instagram. I guess I'm on Twitter too, but I don't really know what's going on with Twitter. I still haven't figured that one out.
I'm not a big fan of the Twitter.
I don't know. Me either.
Yeah.
I'm old.
It's like another language.
I'm on there, but I'm like, I don't understand this.
I think it's more like newspeak, because you just have to say things, and you can't say, you have to shorten everything down, and then you kind of talk like a moron.
Yeah,
that explains a few things about politics.
That's right.
I look at it and I'm just lost. So I don't know. I guess if I'm ever really bored, I'll try to figure it out. But Instagram's more fun because there's pictures, and I like pictures. So yeah. But
we appreciate you coming on tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was really fun. And yeah. Let me know if you ever want to talk again.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm back.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was good talking to you.
You too. You too.
This is Dan Kamen, Old Chief Woodenhead from Creepshow 2. Yatta Hey. You're listening to Without Your Head Horror Radio.